Hiya, welcome to LSB Feasters Radio Channel and Travel Corner. Today, it's back to Philadelphia with 93.3 WMMR. WMMR has been rocking Philadelphia since 1968, when it started as a progressive rock station. In fact, the call letters MMR actually stands for Metro Media Radio. Metro Media owns several progressive rock stations, and MMR adopted its programming from some of the other stations. In the chain, you had Cleveland's WMMS, you had KMET Los Angeles, KSAN in San Francisco, and New York's WNEW. Now, NEW and MMR actually had a very close relationship. The stations ran similar promotions, and they even traded some of their jocks back and forth over the years through the 60s and 70s. Dave Herman was WMMR's first rock jock with the Marconi Experiment back in 1968. And some of the legendary voices we've heard on WMMR over the year include Michael Tierson, Ed Shockey, David Dye, Nick Spencer, Carol Miller, Dave Herman, of course. If you like what you hear, give it a thumbs up, and also feel free to subscribe to the channel. And if you like what you hear, smack that bell after you subscribe so you can get updates whenever we post anything new, which is normally weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. So let's go way back to the guy who got it all started, Dave Herman, on 93.3 WMMR Philadelphia.
The Marconi Experiment with Herman at FM 93.3 WMMR stereo in Philadelphia. FM 93.3. Beatles with She Loves You, vintage 1964. And from the Rubber Soul album, which is vintage 1965, December of 65, I've Just Seen a Face. It might interest you to know that every recording that the Beatles have ever made, be it a single record or an LP, everything that they've ever put on wax has sold worldwide over 1 million copies. Nothing that they have recorded has sold under 1 million copies. The best-selling record that they ever had was I Want to Hold Your Hand, with world sales for that record over 5 million. She Loves You, which we just heard, is the third best-selling single that the Beatles have ever made. She Loves You is. First is I Want to Hold Your Hand, and right in the middle, the second best-selling singles that the Beatles have ever made, with sales of almost 3 million copies, is this.
Hey Jude, don't make it bad.
Hey Jude sold almost 3 million copies. And one of the greatest rhythm and blues singers in the world, Wilson Pickett, thought so much of the song that he recorded it, and it became a hit all over again for Wilson Pickett.
Hey Jude.
Great record by Wilson Pickett of the Beatles, Hey Jude. Hey, in just a minute we'll play a recording by the Beatles that has never been released in the United States, but was on the British version of the album With the Beatles, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Talking about the Beatles and listening to all of this great music that those four Englishmen have contributed to the world, we might remind you, if you're ready for this, that all this week there'll be a special of the Wellington Car stereo centers on any Beatles stereo tape cartridge that you might want to buy. Now listen, any Beatles stereo tape cartridge, and there are 15 to choose from, only $3.84 this week only, to help us celebrate the Beatle Festival. That's what the people at Wellington have done. And it includes all the heavies, Sgt. Pepper, and the Magical Mystery Tour, and the Yellow Submarine, Help, Rubber Soul, Yesterday and Today, Revolver. They're all there, and they're only $3.84 each. As I say, there are more than 15 great Beatles stereo tapes, and available this week only at Wellington for just $3.84. So you can help celebrate our Festival of Life together by getting some of these Beatle tapes yourself. at any Wellington Car Stereo Center. They're on City Line Avenue, 69th Street, Route 13 in the Levittown, Bristol area, the newest center on Route 45 in Woodbury, opposite McDonald's, 18th in Cheltenham, and Route 13 in the Levittown, Bristol area, which we've already mentioned. All of the Wellington Car Stereo Centers are open 6 nights a week.
Won't you help more than 50,000 kids play sandlot baseball? Attend the Phillies-Detroit Tigers game at Connie Mack Stadium on Monday, May 5th. Tickets now on sale.
I would like to throw out a word of thanks to a fellow who works down at Penn Records. His name is Cy. His last name escapes me. But Cy is a complete Beatle freak, and he's helped us a lot in putting the week together, and we wanted to say thanks to him. Cy down at the Penn Record shop on 10th Street, I think. 10th Market. Okay, the Beatles. British release only on this song, never released in the United States, and it's called Devil in Her Heart. Devil in Her Heart. And a correction, it was released in this country. It was on not the with the Beatles album, but on the Beatles' second album. So they took one cut from a British version of one album and put it in the American version of another. So it has been released here. Mistake number 1, and there'll be more to come in the 19 hours and 4 minutes left to the beautiful Beatle Festival.
It's getting better all the time.
Yeah, it's getting better all the time. First hour gone by, and 19 hours to go as we celebrate the Marconi Experiment's first anniversary and a beautiful, beautiful spring day to start with. Herman with you, the Marconi Experiment, nightly at FM 93.3 WMMR, Metro Media Stereo in Philadelphia. A one-woman dramatic show by the brilliant black actress Viney Burrows called Walk Together Children, also known as The Black Scene in prose, poetry, and song, will come to Philadelphia for a limited engagement at the Theater of the Living Arts, which opens on May 21st. Show won great acclaim when it played off-Broadway, and it'll be here in Philadelphia, opening May 21st. For ticket information, call WA3-4823.
Do you have something for broadcast on Stereo 93.3's Future File? Community organizations, clubs, church, or school groups are more than welcome to submit material for broadcast. Address cards and letters to Future File, WMMR Stereo, Philadelphia 19103.
Why, asked an ingenious Frenchman, should delicious coffee aroma just kind of escape? So the Frenchman went to work, and now you can enjoy all the coffee flavor in the cup, made in 5 minutes. Regular grind. No better coffee anywhere at any price. Pamper yourself and select your size pot at the peasant shop. Watch the French coffee maker become an indispensable part of your life. The peasant shop at 845 Lancaster Avenue in Bryn Mawr, 17th and Spruce Street in Philadelphia. Two from Yellow Submarine, all together now, and all you need is love. Beatle Week here at WMMR. And if you're looking for a very exciting place to purchase some shoes, now that we're into the kind of weather when you might want to discard some of the winter heavies and get into sandals and more lightweight things for your adorable little feet, may I set you on the path to Achilles Heel, which is one of the most unusual, one of the most fashionable, high-styled shoe shops in the greater Philadelphia area. Achilles Heel at 1141 Pine Street in Philadelphia, where Murray, Nick, Kelly, and super salesman Rags hold forth each day from 11 in the morning until 7 at night, and on Saturdays they knock off at 6. Give them a little extra time to get their head straight for Saturday nights. But they have all kinds of beautiful things in shoe wear for both ladies and gentlemen. They have his and hers custom-fitted sandals, beautiful, almost handmade-looked sandals at a very, very incredibly low price. They have Spanish chunkies with the metal heels and Italian dress shoes for the ladies. All of the merchandise at Achilles Heel is imported and of the highest quality available. They have San Remo boots and shoes as well. So as I say, if you're looking for something different, for something well-made, for something that you will feel good wearing, drop in at Achilles Heel at 1141 Pine Street in Philadelphia, and a new Achilles Heel will be opening soon in Bryn Mawr at 866 Lancaster Avenue.
This is Lorne Green. During the Six-Day War, the people of Israel were prepared to give everything, even their lives, so that Israel would survive. We're only asking you to give something to the United Jewish Appeal. Please give now so there will be a later.
Give to the Allied Jewish Appeal Israel Emergency Fund of Philadelphia.
In the Beatles autobiography, not auto, but authorized biography by Hunter Davies and published by McGraw-Hill, he tells the story behind some of the songs that the Beatles have recorded. Mr. Davies relates a story that goes back to the middle of March in 1967, a little more than 2 years ago. And at that time, the Beatles were getting toward the end of the Sgt. Pepper album. They had completed about half a song, John and Paul had, that they were writing for Ringo to do on the album. And so they got together in the afternoon at Paul's house in St. John's Wood. John arrived in the early afternoon at about 2 o'clock, started playing the guitar, and Paul started just to kind of bang on his piano. And for a couple of hours, they were just both fiddling around with their own instruments, each seeming to be kind of in a world of his own. They had already picked the name for the tune. They decided they'd call the song A Little Help for My Friends, and they were trying to complete it. All of a sudden, John sang out, "Are you afraid when you turn out the light?" Paul sang it after him and nodded that he thought it was a good line. And then John sang, "Do you believe in love at first sight?" Then he stopped singing and he said, "No, it hasn't got the right number of syllables. What do you think we can do? Maybe we should just put a pause in here to give it that extra syllable." And they went on all through the afternoon. John then sang the line, breaking it in the middle, and said, "Do you believe," beat, "in love at first sight?" And then Paul said, "How about, do you believe in a love at first sight?" John sang that line over, liked it, and then found himself singing the next line, which was, "Yes, I'm certain it happens all the time." And then both of them started to sing the two lines together, la-laing all the words that they hadn't selected yet. It was about 9 o'clock that night that they finally had the song finished. They sang it for Ringo the next day, and he finally recorded it like this.
What would you think if I sang out a tune? Would you stand up and walk?
Slow down, it's called. And before that, we heard 8 Days a Week, and the medley started with the song that was the title of one of the Beatles' movies, A Hard Day's Night. Their first film, as a matter of fact. Part one of our week-long celebration together. You, me, and the music of the Beatles all this week. Here on the Marconi Experiment with Herman at FM 93.3 WMMR Community Stereo in Philadelphia.
This is Sam Hall. Congressman Joseph Arrowpoint takes issue with the Defense Department plan to eliminate some Philadelphia jobs. WMMR News is there.
Closing of the Vital Research and Development section of the Frankfurt Arsenal is another callous display by the Nixon administration of its contempt for big city problems and big city people.
WMMR, Borough Capital. News around the clock. Every hour on the half hour, 24 hours a day.
A couple of the news items making news this evening. A Newark, New Jersey jury has convicted reputed mafia kingpin Rogerio Bottardo of conspiracy in the operation of a multi-million-dollar numbers ring. Botardo was convicted of masterminding the ring that the police say took in $12 million a year and employed about 400 numbers runners. The jury deliberated 59 hours, and the trial has been in progress for the last 8 weeks. Well, some of the clairvoyants of the prophets of doom for California may already be saying, "We told you so," but here are some more details from Metro Media's Alan Christian.
A rolling earthquake rocked downtown Los Angeles, swaying tall buildings, but there were no reports of damage or injury. One woman reported that some books fell off a shelf. Reports indicate that the quake hit a broad area from Los Angeles to San Diego. One man called to say he was sitting on a table when it bounced across the room. No one asked why he was sitting in such a strange place. Prophets have been predicting that Southern California would fall off into the sea. The California Institute of Technology reports that the Golden State is still intact. Alan Christian, Metro Media Radio News, Los Angeles.
And the resignation of French President Charles de Gaulle is already bringing hints of the dire consequences that de Gaulle himself predicted. Today, the franc tumbled in value, and the interim president has made an urgent appeal for respect for the law during the coming political struggle. And already politicians of all political stripes have begun jockeying for the French presidency. The official weather forecast for the metropolitan area: increasing cloudiness and turning cooler tonight with a chance of showers, possibly a thunder shower. About 55 degrees, clearing on Tuesday with a high about 70. Very cool tomorrow night. 71 degrees on Rittenhouse Square right now. The airport at 68. The humidity at 43%. WMMR brings you news around the clock, every hour on the half hour, 24 hours a day. Herman with you, night number 1 of our beautiful Beatles festival. And it continues.